All right, the court will note the witness is now under oath. I do have a few questions before we start with the examination. Ms. Harris, have you viewed, watched online, or observed any of the trial testimony that's taken place since this case started?
No, I have not.
All right, have you talked to anyone else about the testimony they've given in trial?
No.
Okay, Mr. Wixom, you can proceed with your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am. Will you please state your full name for the record?
Kelsie Harris,
Will you please spell it for the reporter?
Kelsie Harris,
And where do you live?
Sugar City.
Is that here in Idaho?
Yes.
Ma'am, do you recall knowing a Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
I want to draw your attention back to October of 2019. Did you have any association or interaction with Ms. Daybell back then?
Yes.
What was that association?
She was a student in my clogging class in Sugar City, and she also worked at the school as a librarian. And at the time, I worked at the school as well.
What did you do at the school at the time?
I worked in the kitchen.
Did you have regular contact while at work with Ms. Daybell?
Yes, I saw her frequently.
How often during the course of a week or a day might you have contact?
Every day I would see her.
How would you generally describe your relationship with her?
We were friends. We would see each other at class, in my class and at the school, and have conversation more than just a hello.
Okay. And you mentioned a clogging class. For the sake of jurors or any of us who may not understand clogging, will you explain what that is?
So clogging is a fast-paced style of dance, and you wear clogging shoes that are similar to a tap shoe. It has 2 taps and it creates loud sounds and also different rhythm steps.
And did you say you attended the class with her or you teach the clogging class?
I was the instructor of the class.
To the best that you can you recall what time frame was it that Tammy was attending that class?
It was the end of August, early September until the time of her death in October 2019.
How often was the class held?
It was every week, a 60-minute class once a week.
Did she attend regularly?
Yes, every class.
How would you describe clogging overall? Would it be low intensity, medium intensity, high intensity? Where would you put it?
I would say medium intensity because you're still getting that cardio and getting your heart rate up.
And when students are in the class, do you have the opportunity to observe them?
Yes, I do.
How often do you recall being able to see Tammy in class while she was clogging?
The whole time I'm observing all of the students, making sure there's no falling behind, that they're able to keep up with the steps that I'm teaching. And so I am constantly watching the students that way.
Okay. From your recollection, do you ever recall her falling behind in class?
No,
Do you ever recall any issues with her getting tired?
no,
Any issues at all that you recall with her ability to perform the clogging and keep up with the class?
no.
Now, with respect to any other activities, did you have any other activities that you were involved with, Tammy in?
I did.
What were those?
So I attended a high fitness class in St. Anthony, and I stood right next to Tammy in that class, and that was my first time going. I was not the instructor at the time. I was just a participant, and I stood right next to Tammy in that class.
And for the jury's sake, will you just kind of elaborate, what did you do in high fitness class?
So a high fitness class is very high intensity. You're doing burpees, a lot of jumping jacks, explosive movements to really get the heart rate up.
And you said you were standing next to her in class?
Yes, I was.
How often was that class held?
2 times a week,
How long was each class?
60-minute class.
Did Tammy, as you recall, attend that regularly?
Yes.
What time frame do you recall attending that class with Tammy relative to her death?
It was about late September of 2019.
And what did you observe, if anything, about Tammy's performance in that class?
Nothing like, so I observed that she was able to keep up in that class and was doing those high intensity moves like the burpees and things like that. And she was able to keep up with that class as well.
And just as a comparison, how different was high fitness than clogging in terms of intensity?
So high fitness is very high intensity. Clogging is still that cardio workout, getting your heart rate up. But as far as like the up and down movements, clogging, we're still moving at a fast pace. And
Thank you. So just based upon your personal observations overall with what you saw in Tammy in those classes and the interactions at school, let me withdraw that and go back. With respect to your interactions at school and at work, did you have any occasion to observe anything that would give you clues about Tammy's health?
no,
So did you withdraw based upon what you observed in clogging and in high fitness? Did you ever see anything that would give you any questions or concerns about how healthy she was?
no,
Did you ever see anything about her struggling or not keeping up?
no, not at all.
Did she ever express any concerns about how she was feeling?
No,
And at these classes, did you talk to her regularly?
I did. Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
All right, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Would you tell me, again, when did these clogging classes start?
It was the end of August, early September, and they ran every week. And that was the year 2019.
So it was once a week,
Yes.
and let's say you started in September. So there were a total of 5 classes that Tammy attended before she passed away. Would that be fair?
Yeah, correct.
5 classes.
Yes.
Okay. And the same thing for the other activity, the high intensity. She only went to one of those though, right?
I could tell she went to more of those. I just attended the one class for my first time.
Well, you don't know whether she attended more. You only saw her at one of those high intensity classes. Isn't that true?
So yes, I did see her.
Okay.
And
Now, I don't want to disparage anybody, but would you describe Tammy's figure as being a body of someone who was extremely fit?
I would say she was a very fit woman.
You'd say she was a very fit woman. Okay.
I would.
Now, you know her daughter Emma, right?
Correct.
And her daughter Emma went to the one high intensity class with her as well, right?
Correct.
And that's the only time you saw Emma and Tammy at the high intensity class that one time, right?
So Emma was a participant as well in my clogging class.
And I'm going to get to that. Emma would stand with her mother at the back of the clogging class and participate in that as well in the very back of the room, right?
Right.
Right. And how many people were in this clogging class?
There were about 7 total.
Okay. And again, if I understand, the clogging classes were twice a week and about the same time, September until Tammy passed in October, right?
Correct. The clogging class was once a week.
Oh, the clogging was once a week? Oh, I'm sorry. I had it down for twice. It was only once
The
a
high
week.
fitness class was twice a week.
Oh, but the high fitness, you only saw her there once. The clogging, you saw her for all 5 or 6 of the classes she attended that time, right?
Yes.
And her daughter Emma was there right next to her the whole time, correct?
Correct.
So if there were any issues, you're in the front of the class. If there were any issues with her mother, Emma would probably be the best judge of whether there were issues with her mother and her activity and participation level. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now you said you worked at the school. You worked in the cafeteria or the food service portion of the
Mhm.
school.
Yes,
Tammy was a librarian. You also know that Emma was teaching at that school as well, right?
right.
And it was frequent in her usual practice for Emma and her mother to get together every time they had an opportunity to do so, right?
Objection, Your Honor, that assumes facts, not evidence.
Abstain.
Are you aware that whenever there was any free time during the school hours, that it was always Emma and her mother who would spend the majority of the time together?
Yes.
All right, nothing else, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Any recross?
Just a couple of questions, if I may, Your Honor.
Very well. I'm sorry, redirect, Mr. Wixom.
Which may, Judge. Ma'am, just very quickly, regardless of the cross-examination.
Judge, I'm going to object.
That's argumentative
Yeah, fair enough.
question.
With respect to the questions that you were just asked, is there any doubt that you have in your assessment of watching Tammy in clogging class and her performance?
There's no doubt. No.
So you are confident in what you've told the
Asked and
jury?
answered.
Overruled.
You are confident in what you've told the jury about your personal observations about Tammy and how she performed?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any need to recall the witness from the state or the defense?
Not from the defense, Judge.
Not from the state, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. That concludes your testimony in the trial. Thank you for appearing. You may go ahead and step down from the witness box.